So that is the minority leader there, Harun Edrisu, and backed by his deputy, James Aveji, who just finished taking the media through their pink sheets. A total of 267 polling stations. Well, they didn't go through entirely all the polling station pink sheets, but they did a few, and then they gave us a summary of what the totals are. And that is what we're going to go through very quickly with my colleagues, Winston and Raymond, here on the JoyNews channel. So from what the NDC just did, according to the NDC's minority caucus in Parliament, when they collated their pink sheets from the 267 polling centers, polling stations across the Techiman South constituency, the NDC secured 50,306 votes. The MPP secured 50,013 votes. This is parliamentary results. And they believe as a result of this outcome, they won the parliamentary elections in Techiman South. Winston.
Well, and so when we started, we talked about how the NDC sought to prove to the whole, Ghanaian population that indeed they won Techiman South. One of the things they've been able to do for me is to put pressure on the Electoral Commission. Okay? So throughout the period, there's always been the talk of where is your evidence? Where is your evidence?
The candidate himself, Mr. Bayere, yesterday was on Newsnight, and I spoke to him. I asked him, because he said last night that they have all their pink sheets from all 267 polling stations. I asked him to tell us how many votes was the total number of votes he secured from his independent collation that he's done from those pink sheets. He put his own figure, that was last night, at 50,420 votes. 50,420 votes. And the MPP at 49,825 votes. Raymond, there's a discrepancy.
Certainly.
In the parliamentary candidate's figure from the same pink sheets to what we've heard from the minority announced today also.
So the discrepancies start from that of the NDC's figure. The NDC's figure for what was announced today is actually lower than what is supposed to be the parliamentary candidate's own figure. So watch it this way: 5304 and 5420. That's the difference. Now, when it comes to the MPP's own, what was announced today is higher than what the candidate gave us, which is 49825, and what was announced today is 50013. Now, this is also aside the fact that the Electoral Commission's figures are different.
True.
From all these two figures provided here. That's the difference. Now, another point you should note is that between the Electoral Commission's figures and the NDC's candidates' figures, now, for a little over 400 is the difference between what the Electoral Commission says the MPP won that particular constituency by. If you push it to what we have been told today, the NDC says it won the constituency with 293 votes. Now, if you ask the candidates, the one you spoke to and the figures he gave, it is over 1,000 votes that he won the constituency by. So that's how variant, virtually every single figure from the EC to the minority caucus and also the candidate himself, they all have different figures on all the sides. The differences are also huge. I am wondering how they can mix it up. If the NPP also provided what they call it,
their own pink collation,
it suggests to me that it might be different from what has been given, or maybe same as the Electoral Commission's own, as we've been hinted, or as they even stated clearly there, that they believe that the NPP's figures is what the Electoral Commission used, and so might be similar to that one. Which means that the NDC says it won the election with 293. The Electoral Commission says, no, the MPP won with over 400. And the candidate says, I won with over 1,000. The only difference I can put this to is an independent review of these figures. It will be close to impossible.
So Don EC is out. MPPs are NDCs. I'll get somebody else to collect
and somebody who will check the validity of the pink sheets being referenced. There cannot be two different pink sheets for the same polling station. It doesn't make sense. Because the tabulation is pretty clear. The form is there. You write the polling station code and everything is there. You record for every single candidate. You record and also after that do ballot accounting. How many were issued? How many have been spot? How many actually at the end of the day, when you put the issued spot and all of them together, you write all of those things there. So there cannot be any contention at all as to the validity of the original pink sheet, which can be determined independently. So this is what now, it sounds like the call for an independent review makes some sense. Now, it's also important that a court can do that quickly. A court can order any of the institutions of state with the competence or even a private institution to help with the independent review. But for now, it sounds more confusing, the figures coming from the three different sources that we have had to review today. And all three different sources do not even agree on the differences between who won and who won with what margin. And that's what's more confusing here.
But Raymond, Rainston.
Yeah, so while I agree, I agree that you need an independent person. But that independent person, Raymond, comes in when one of the parties has made a request, gone to the court and said, look, you know what? These are the figures we have. This is what the Electoral Commission has said. And that's why we believe that it's important to have an independent person to verify it. What the NDC is saying is that, look, the Electoral Commission should do the right thing. How should the Electoral Commission do the right thing? Now, we have seen Techiman South presidential election pink sheet. I have been on the EC's website. I've checked the parliamentary results. I haven't seen Techiman South, okay, parliamentary results. The results that the EC has posted on its website. I haven't seen Techiman South. So what that means is, does the EC have the collated results of Techiman South? What I think the EC... And
they should publish it.
They should publish it. It's as simple. That's the first point. If in doubt... No,
but now, forgive me, let me not interrupt you. Merely publishing the collated result might not help. You need every single polling station.
Once I finish, you understand.
Yes.
Once I finish, you understand.
Yeah.
If the EC publishes those results, then we know, okay, so this is what the Electoral Commission based on and declared Martin Ejay-Mensah Kosa as victor in that particular constituency. Then, based on the NDC's own collation, and today we have seen the minority in Parliament with a different figure from the parliamentary candidate's own. And
I think that is significant.
Yeah.
That discrepancy is significant because within the same party, the independent candidate, I guess, has the most stake in the matter.
Yeah.
Right? He gives a figure because he said, I have my pink sheet and this is the result. The minority who claim to represent in the party also comes out to give a different figure. That raises, because again, this is there's a contest around the numbers, right? So within the NDC, they should have one total figure.
Exactly. And you see, that's
but they don't seem to have that. And that raises questions about the pink sheets they have.
Yeah.
And that's a question they need to resolve.
But that's where the election petition, and you saw in the Supreme Court at the time, the Supreme Court, asking, and as Ramon has said, asking KPMG to independently verify, because there were talks about duplication of pink sheets and what have you. What KPMG did was to come out to say, these are this is the number of pink sheets that she brought. And it is very important at this stage that an independent person can say, this is what happened in the Techiman South constituency. Because once you have figures here and there, all of us would want to put this whole matter to rest once.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in order to do so, we need an independent person to do that. And that independent person would only do that when a case is made at the court. And that's why I think it's important at this stage to go to court.
Can the Electoral Commission themselves, and this is the Techiman South alone, because you mentioned that on the website, they've published almost everything without Techiman South. And in fact, in the press conference that Ejay-Mensah addressed, in stating the results, one of the key press conferences, she makes the point that particular details that she put out, and these are her words: the election results we have declared exclude that of Techiman South constituency. The set election results are not ready because it's been contested, collation has not been completed, etc. Then, of course, we know now that he's been added because they have the press statement that comes out subsequent to that gives us Techiman South in addition. but on the website, we don't find the actual declaration form. So, first of all, you've made a point. EC should publish that. But then you say independent. You say some independent person should do. Can the EC themselves?
You see, because
well, I mean, to be fair to them, they are not even asking for independent collation.
Yeah, exactly. But
they say the EC should. Yeah, but simply.
But you see, because
collate.
the EC, and so the point is, now that the EC is declared Martin Ejemen-Sakosa as winner, and the NDC says these are figures, we think you're wrong. No, we believe you are wrong. We know you are wrong. Do the right thing. Now, the Electoral Commission says these are the figures. The MPP has not come up with these figures yet. I am saying, because of this particular issue, why don't you simply put everything to rest? And I am also saying, if the EC, I mean, the EC can come out and say, let's do a recollation. But the question you ask, and we've been discussing this off air, so you had a chance to call for recollation. NDC says it didn't even happen. My point is simple. Based on this evidence, you cannot have this evidence and sit in the House and say the EC should do the right thing. Compel the EC to do the right thing.
Go to court and
get an independent person to collate it. It's as simple as that.
The difficulty with that is that there's the politics and the real politique of it. The timelines matter. Now, today is the 22nd. We are left to less than 8 days to end the year. Now, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, his swearing-in will happen on the 7th. On the 6th Parliament, the night before, the early morning of that particular day, Parliament will choose a speaker. The NDC is looking at all of these timelines and saying there is no way when we go to court tomorrow, they will finish the case in the less than 2 weeks that we have. It means that the most crucial decision of Techiman South, which should influence who becomes speaker. Don't forget, Haruna Iddrisu says they are the majority. They actually have more numbers in the House than the NPP, because when Techiman South is taken out of 137, the NPP gets 136. They become 138. The independent candidate's role does not matter at all in this now, because it just drops one level to the NPP, taking it to 137 again, and still the NDC remains 138, and they will choose leadership of Parliament. That is the key question they are seeking to ask, that use the ordinary processes, if you want fairness, to declare the man winner for our party, because we believe that these are the same what they call it, pink sheets you should have. Now, there's something that may clarify the difference between what the candidate has and also what the minority put out there. I did hear the candidates say, and NDC in Techiman South has actually, before all of this brouhaha, disputed 5 polling stations. It is very possible that in the analysis that they gave you, the figures he gave you,
the candidate,
he left those 5 out.
Okay.
Now, I heard Haruna Iddrisu say that we are adding every single, even the disputed 5. I heard him proud to making that particular comment. So that may make up for the difference.
It's only 100 votes difference.
Yes.
And those 5 polling stations may not, and you're looking at 5 polling stations. Those 5 polling stations, if added, could actually be more than, 1,000 votes that we're looking at here.
True.
So the margin, the candidate's vote is 5420. The NDC is 5306.
Yes.
And he gives Martin Ejemen-Sakosa 49825. Okay? The declared result says 49682.
That's true.
So the NDC is 49205. But having said that, let me just chip this in quickly. And it's another issue. The Electoral Commission you are expecting to do the right thing is past 5:30. They've closed it today, all things being equal. The Electoral Commission has told you that they are going on a break and would come back on the 19th of January. Within that time, are you expecting the Electoral Commission to come out there and say we're going to declare this? No. And that's why I'm saying I am no lawyer.
But the court can compel them to come back from leave.
Compel the Electoral Commission to do that. And you can, I'm no lawyer, but I think also that with this compelling evidence, you can actually go to a court and say, look, based on this, and for the, purposes of our democracy and the importance of this seat in determining who becomes Speaker of Ghana's Parliament, let's do this.
The last major contention
I want to go to,
situation.
Stay with me. I want to go to Joseph Gakpo now. And because this question about the pink sheets, they have all the pink sheets. They've shown it today. The evidence has been put out publicly. We've challenged them to do it. They've done it. The key question is, what do you do with the pink sheets? And that's the question I guess you're addressing. Do you leave it as in the public demonstration, or you take it to a court of competent jurisdiction, or you give it? That is a key question that the knot must be tied. You have to. There's a certain loose end that has to be addressed there. Let's cross over to the Parliament House. Joseph Gakpo is standing by with ABF Hussaini. He was part of those who walked to the Electoral Commission today as part of the protest. I mean, Joseph. So now we've seen the evidence, and I know. First of all, if you can tell me, have you managed to independently confirm the validity of some of these pink sheets, at least those you've seen?
And as you rightly heard, the NDC's MP, particularly James Aveji, who is the Deputy Minority Leader, indicates these are pink sheets that were given to their reps at the various polling centers in this particular constituency, Techiman South, and those are the documents that they are working with. Yes, I've looked at them. They very much look like some of the pink sheets that we saw in areas like Adentan, where I covered, for example. And then the indication again is that, yes, a lot of them have the signatures as far as the various individuals. So the indication is that representatives of the various political parties, including the MPP and the NDC, as well as the Electoral Commission. So yes, these are different documents that the NDC is insisting actually backs the tabulation that they put out a little while ago that we all rightly observed. But obviously, there are a lot of outstanding questions. We'll get into the figures in a while. Any moment from now, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, who is the MP for North Tongue, will also join us as we seek to get more reactions from various MPs. But we'll get into the figures in a while, Honorable ABF Hussaini. But first of all, so now that you've done this, what's your expectation of the Electoral Commission? That they will do a redeclaration, and then what exactly would happen?
Joe, they must do the right and decent thing. It is not for the Electoral Commission to declare their preference for who should occupy the parliamentary seat for Techiman South. It is for the people of the good people of Techiman South. The Electoral Commission simply has to just declare what the people themselves have already declared. And you have been given the most graphic testimony of the evidence that we have. All the pink sheets, 167 pink sheets from all the 167 polling stations. And the results are here, signed by all. And that is why we want to put this before the media, so that you are left in no doubt who is the real winner of the Techiman South seat. And it has been demonstrated in clear terms. What the EC is trying to do is to usurp. And that is what they have done in this election. To try and steal the election from Nana Akufo-Addo, as well as steal the parliamentary majority from the NDC. It will not be allowed.
So just to be clear, is your position that this is fraud that the EC is perpetrating, or you are considering the likelihood that this could also be the result of an error of a sort? Because we know that the EC did put out the details with the tabulation of the various constituencies. You have repeatedly criticized the declaration of the seat for Techiman South, but are you looking at the other options in terms of the likelihood of it not necessarily being an attempted fraud?
Joe, I just want to ask a few questions. The Techiman South result, where were they declared? Can they prefer the venue? Because it is very clear where the results should be declared, according to the laws of this country. Should be declared at the coalition center at the head office. Am I lying? So, the constituency head office. Where did they declare that result? When was it declared? Where is a copy of the declaration of that result? They cannot answer any of these questions. It's because they are engaged in an act of fraud to pull a fast one over the good people of Techiman South. Because if you declared it in the open, in the presence of all the NDC agents, it was collated, they would have been given a copy. Joe, go and read CI 127. It makes it abundantly and eminently clear that when the declaration is made, copies of that declaration should be given to agents of the political parties who are interested parties in the contest. Am I lying? I am not the conqueror. She brought the CI 127 to Parliament. And inherent in it was that they shall, and it is not an option for the EC. It says they shall make copies. So it's mandatory on them. When our General Secretary and others went requesting a copy of the declaration, they said they didn't have it. Even the presiding officer, who was purported to have made that declaration, didn't have it. So no declaration. They didn't make a declaration. They are just trying to steal the seat, like they have stolen votes for Nana Akufo-Addo to pad his vote so that for him to become president. They are trying to do the kind of gargantuan theft of votes to give it to Nana Akufo-Addo and their candidate in Techiman South.
Let me quickly get into the figures, because I'm assuming that as a minority team, you've paid attention to these figures even before your deputy leader put them out a while ago, right here at the media briefing. Yesterday, I had a conversation with the NDC candidate for the area, Christopher Bayre, and I asked that pointed question about what the difference is as far as what he's claiming he's won in that particular constituency vis-a-vis the NPP candidate. He gave me a figure of 700 as the total votes that the NDC has won that particular seat compared to the NPP. A while ago, just before the press briefing started, I had a conversation with the North Tongu MP, Samuel Kujecha Blakwa, and I posed a similar question to him. He said that the win is by more than 500 votes. Then the presentation is done and we hear 293 votes. Then the question is, how come are the figures changing? Where are all these new figures coming from?
I think that I cannot contest whatever, but I'm just indicating to you that the NDC's authentic figure is that 293. I'm sure you are here when the figure was mentioned. And that is the result, that is genuine from the pink sheet, the coalition of results from all the police stations, per the pink sheets from each police station. And that's very clear. So this is the figure. Any figure you are hearing is somebody's speculation.
Including the figure that the parliamentary candidate, Christopher Biden himself gave.
I cannot answer to that because I didn't hear him say that. In fact, the parliamentary candidate was here. And he assented to the fact that this is the official figure that as far as he's concerned, he's won that, the Techiman South seat. That is the figure we should stick to. Anybody peddling any figure is his figure. But this is the authentic figure that the NDC is standing on and indicating that this is the claim we are making to the Techiman South seat.
What will the NDC do on January 7, 2021, if the MPP's Martin Ejime shows up in Parliament as the Member of Parliament-elect for Techiman South and comes in to be sworn in by the Speaker?
We will not accept him. Simply, as simple as that. We will not accept him. Because we know that, and that is why we are giving the Electoral Commission the opportunity to go and reverse the fraud they are going to play on the people of Techiman South. They should do the right and honorable thing and do the coalition. Why? Even in Banda, they did coalition, recoalition, coalition, and recoalition more than 5 times. Okay? They should just go back to Techiman South. Why? Even the Electoral Commissioner herself, after declaring the first result, didn't she come to tell us that she made an error? And who says that these are not reading with errors? But even we said it's a combination of errors and fraud. And this fraud must not be allowed to be perpetrated. And so she should just go back and do the honorable thing. Get us, we'll get our pink sheet, let the MPP come with their pink sheets, we'll all sit down, do a collation. At the end of the day, if we do it authentically and the figures add up and whoever is declared winner, we will accept it.
Why is the NDC still hesitant about going to court to get this matter settled once and for all?
For instance, Gapo, you know, as an intellectual, I don't know whether you're even a student of law. You know that if you are going to court, you must go with something. For instance, where is the declaration? I just asked that, where is the declaration for Techiman South that they are purporting to have made? So for you to challenge a declaration, you must have a copy of that declaration.
The AC has issued a statement in which they list out the constituencies that has been won by both sides.
And I'm asking them,
at least
where is the...
that provides some evidence of that declaration.
Go and tell them that they should show you. They should not even give it to you. They should show you a copy of the declaration they made for Techiman South.
The 21
and see whether
day,
you see it.
The 21-day window within which an electoral petition can be filed is actually running, which may expire sometime around the 31st or so. If it happens that by then you've still not gotten hold of the pink sheet for Techiman South, will you allow the window that allows you to challenge the result to slide without an opportunity to get back?
They say that if peaceful avenues are closed to redress, forceful measures will come. I hope we don't get there. Because if they use every measure to steal this vote and prevent us from legitimately mounting a challenge, I tell you, this guy, whoever they want to bring to sit in this house will not materialize.
You physically prevent him from...
I'm not saying, I have not said that, but I'm just indicating to you that the people of Techiman will make sure that the rightful person who they elected to parliament will take his seat.
You are suggesting you are ready to use alternative measures.
I'm not making any suggestion. I'm just indicating to you that the good people of Techiman South will make sure that whoever they have elected to come and occupy that seat will occupy that seat. They will never allow that seat to be taken away legitimately from the person who they legitimately elected in a legitimate election to come and be their representative. It will never happen.
That's the NDC MP for Sagnerugu, ABF Husseini, speaking to us there. Thanks very much for joining us. Just to quickly actually clear up the points about the figures as we have seen being churned out, and virtually the figures changing in terms of the specifics on what the margins actually look like. Evans, I would quickly get a comment from the NDC MP for North Tongu, who I know has been very much involved. In fact, he was sitting right by James Klucha Veji, even as they put out those specific details on the 293 votes they say the NDC has won the Techiman South seat with. Earlier when we had a conversation, you indicated about 500 votes were what the NDC had actually won with.
Yes.
I spoke to your candidate in Techiman yesterday. He said the margin in terms of the difference was more than 700 votes. All of a sudden it's 293. Over the last 24 hours, 3 different figures. What could have gone wrong?
You remember when I spoke to you, I talked about us at the time, the authentication that we were carrying out. So it's a team that was set up. We decided to take the pink sheets, all 267 pink sheet by pink sheet. And then we came to the final tabulated figure of 293. The point that we are emphasizing is that for the parliamentary elections, it is a first past the post election. It's not like the presidential that you need a 50% +1. We have had colleagues who have come to this house with about 3 votes. You remember Titus Glover, he was even nicknamed MP3. The Senate West MP is here with 16 votes, as declared by the Electoral Commission for the 8th Parliament. There are some that are about, 31 votes. The Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim for Banda, that was the margin that he won with. So I do not think that we should be too, fussy about the numbers. What's important is that we are done now with the independent coalition. We could have decided to depend on what the party says in Techiman South or what some communicators may have put out earlier. We decided, this team that had Dr. Aveji, that had Dr. Kwabena Donko, that had Dr. Fifi, the Honorable Fifi Kwete, and my good self, we decided to just take the pink sheet by pink sheet, and then do the collation. Some of the pink sheets on the surface of it looked a bit, unclear, but we had to take our time and look at all of that, verify from other party agents what they had, and have come to this 290. Painstaking work, and we in some instances we even decided to just err on the side of caution, and make sure that even in instances where probably you see a slight variation between words and figures, we would rather go for the lower figure in terms of what has been written in words. And that's, we know for a fact that we will not go below 293. But the point is that, look, the Electoral Commission should be doing this collation. Regulation 42 of CI 127 is very clear. Why is it that up to now, they claim they have put Techiman South in the MPP column, claiming that the MPP has 137 seats? Why is it that up to now, nobody knows the figures? The Electoral Commission cannot tell us by what number the MPP won with. And yet, they put the Techiman seat under the MPP column. And there has been no collation. You know that Regulation 42 of CI 127 is very clear that there ought to be public collation. All party agents must sign the summary sheet. All of this has not taken place. And we are saying that we know that the good people of this country have given the NDC a clear parliamentary majority. We have at least 138 seats. Techiman South included, we have 138 seats. We must elect the speaker. We must chair the committees of parliament. And it is good for the balance of power. It's good for our democracy. As we continue to pursue the presidential, which remember we've rejected, and we must emphasize that it's not as though we've abandoned the presidential cause. So all our petitions and all our communication, we have said, all of this is without prejudice to the presidential outcome, which we believe will be in our favor when we eventually go to court.
What next beyond this, the collation that you've done and putting out these figures? Today you march to the headquarters of the EC. That will be my final clarification from you.
We have made clear that midnight January 6, 2021, Mr. Christopher Baire is the person we expect to be sworn in. We will not accept any other person than the Honorable Christopher Baire Basankti to be sworn in as the Member of Parliament for Techiman South.
How will you prevent that?
The will of the people of Techiman South would not be subverted. The chiefs and people of Techiman South deserve to have the bona fide candidate who they have voted for to represent them in this house. And we have served notice that we will do everything possible, everything legally permissible to prevent any person who does not have the legitimacy to represent any constituency to be here. If I didn't win North Tongue, I have absolutely no right to come here to be sworn in as a Member of Parliament for North Tongue. Absolutely no right. So we don't expect anybody purporting to be the winner of a seat without collation, without declaration, without any number. So we have made clear.
Including possibly physically restraining him from doing that? I'm wondering what those options are beyond the street protests, the press conferences, and what exactly the main plan is.
Every legal option is on the table. Remember that.
Is it possible you may go to court before January 7 over this? Because you repeatedly insisted that unless you have the coalition sheet.
I've told you that every legal option. So going to court is part of it. Remember that citizen arrest is allowed. You can physically present wrong from going on. To be a patriot, to be a good citizen. All of those, look.
By possibly physically arresting Mr. James and preventing him from stepping in there.
We are clearly dealing with a despotic regime. Look at what they did today. Members of parliament, representatives of the people, sovereignty in this country resides in the people. The people's representatives on a peaceful walk to present a petition. We've been doing this as a tradition in this country. We do this always. We inform the marshal, inform the police command here. We notify Jean Mensa. We've given you a copy of the response received.
A notification that went to them just this morning.
It doesn't matter.
You are the
last year, the IGP received us. The IGP himself received that last year. You were part of that march after the Ayawaso West Wogon election when our colleague Sam George was assaulted. The IGP and his team received us. Do we have different sets of laws in this country? And they send the police to physically prevent us? And then Jean Mensa would not come and receive a petition? Why is she running away? Why is she being so cowardly? What does she have to hide? And then and then they put out that statement that they are going the longest break ever in a year that you've conducted election. Last year there was Christmas. Check the records. Last year Christmas, when you didn't conduct elections last year, did you go on this long leave, running away from your shadows? You are being haunted by your deeds. What kind of country are we building? This is not the country that all the Democrats who toiled, who suffered, some laid down their lives to build this democracy, which has gotten to this point. And as ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I know the sterling credentials that the Committee of Nations admire. Anytime you meet, you have conferences and all of that. And all of that, I watch it go down the drain because the Akufo-Addo-led government is desperate to maintain an illegitimate parliamentary, balanced, hung parliament they claim. Struggling to claim that there's some hung parliament, struggling to even misinterpret Article 97H of the Constitution, which does not allow an independent candidate to claim to have joined the MPP, and so a warped interpretation of the Constitution claiming that you rather have the majority. We are not going to sit, and we've made clear.
How will the bit about the constitutional allowance for citizens' arrest play out in this particular situation as you envisage?
We have told you, and already you have seen that for the first time they cannot even hold an inauguration at the Independence Square. They are preparing to come and do it here under state, the full force of the state. They want to come and do it here.
The majority leader has offered explanation for that usually when it's done at the Independence Square, MPs don't have the room. In fact, he requested for that a few weeks before the election when the president was here in Parliament.
Please, look, I always say, and as a political science student, there's something called legitimacy. If you have truly won an election, if you are not subverting the will of the people, you don't go hiding. You don't shut your offices as a public officer in an election year. Put out public statements that you are going on leave up to the 19th of January. What are you running away from? So clearly they lack legitimacy. They lack the moral authority. That only comes from the people.
And the use of a citizen's
from
arrest
the people.
is an option in terms of
I have told you,
bringing the situation
I have told you that if they continue with the conspiracy with state institutions, if the legal processes will want to delay and justice will be denied, there are other options. And I'm telling you that there's so many options on the table, and we will pursue all options, including the march we carried out today, the petition we sent, the independent collation that we have done. They thought we don't have all the 267 pink sheets. We have them. And all the public manifestations, including the petitions that we are sending to the international community. We have meetings lined up the EU Observer Mission, the African Union Observer Mission, ECOWAS Observer Mission, and the other embassies, the members of the diplomatic corps, who were keenly interested in these matters and who are wondering just how come our democracy has been dwarfed to this very pathetic state. So we remain determined that the will of the people, because look, it will be such a travesty of justice if we sit aloof and sheepishly allow this travesty, this subversion of the will of people of the people to hold. And His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo himself, he's been good at leading protests and standing up for the rights of the people. So he knows what can be done when a people are determined. When the people know that good is on their side and God is on their side, they know that nothing can stop them. And that is why we know that posterity will look back and be proud of our actions. All legal options remain on the table. And the despots, the tyrants, those hawks within the MPP, in cahoots with the EC and security agencies, and they've already killed so many people as we speak. People have died, and the people have been maimed just because people want to twist arms. People want to deliberately, the Akufo-Addo-led government wants to deliberately perpetuate itself in power when it does not have the mandate, the verdict of the people. You can trust the NDC and the minority not to accept this. We will not.
And this will be through peaceful means again. Or you can't guarantee that either.
Those who are killing us, those who are killing us, the force that was used today, you saw some of our MPs on the floor. Preach your peace to them.
So you can't guarantee that those efforts and those measures will be peaceful means that will keep the nation together, into the nation.
I have not said that we will engage in any act of wrongdoing, or we would seek today, all our actions today. We have not vandalized any property. We have not caused any public disorder. We have not violated any law. But those who are killing us, this question must go to the oppressor. It must go to those who are subverting the will of the people. There can be no peace without justice. We must be clear in our minds.
Many thanks for joining us. The NDC MP for North Tongue, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, he's also the ranking member on Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee, speaking to us there. Evans, back to you.
Joseph is still with me. Joseph, did you get clarity? I don't know if you got clarity on that question. We've been asking about that discrepancy that appears to exist between the minorities figure for Techiman South and the parliamentary candidate's own figure he gave us yesterday. Was there clarity on that?
Evans, if you can kindly say that again, it was a little difficult hearing you.
Okay, I was asking you, did you get clarity on the discrepancy between the NDC parliamentary candidate for Techiman South's own figures that he gave us yesterday and what the minority put out today? There are slight differences in the numbers.
So you recall that the candidate told us that there was a margin of victory for the NDC to the tune of 700 votes. Not just him, Mr. Ablakwa, who I just spoke to a while ago, had put that figure at more than 500 votes. And then eventually we had the 293. When I saw that clarification from Mr. Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, who is part of the team that has been doing the tabulation, he explains that all the figures, including that which he gave me earlier, which stood at 500, is actually a figure that was ready as at the time that the discussion was being had. So as at the time that we spoke to the NDC candidates yesterday evening, the discrepancy in terms of the difference between the NDC and the MPP was 700. As at this afternoon, just around the time that we had the polls program unfold around 3 p.m., when I spoke to Mr. Ablakwa and he said the figure was 500, he explains that as at that time, that's the figure and the coalition was actually still ongoing. And then when eventually the work was completed and double vetted by the mathematics folks, particularly on the minority side, then they got to the figure of 293, which he insists is the figure that they are working with, and that's the figure that they are standing by, that they are concluding with, that the difference is 293 votes.
So, thank you very much for that. We would be getting that clarity on this, because you've heard the explanation that he gave. What do you make of it?
Well, so, I mean, I've heard Joseph talk about the fact that in the afternoon, by the time they talked about 500, they were still collating. And you would want to find out also when the parliamentary candidate spoke. He said he had done the total collation. And so you ask yourself that simple question. And the reason why we're calling for an independent collation of the Techiman South constituency parliamentary results, because the figures are many, okay? Yeah. The figures are many. Okay, let's just even decide to use two. Once there are two figures, then it means that you need...
From the same source?
Yes.
Two figures
from the same source. But I'm even going to use the current, figures from the NDC, and I'm going to be using the 50013 for Martin J. Mensah Kosa and the 5306 for the NDC's candidate, and say, okay, so this is the figure. But if you look at it here, at the time that the Electoral Commission was declaring Martin J. Mensah Kosa as winner, this is the figure that they gave, 49,682 to 49,205. These are two figures. And so you ask yourself that simple question. Once we have two figures, how do we independently verify which of them is right? You can only verify when you have an independent person helping you. And so the third opinion, the third and final opinion, should not be from the NDC, should not be from the Electoral Commission, should be from an independent person. That should not be difficult for us to do as a country if we really want to keep on progressing with our democracy. Let's get an independent view. And I think that the election petition showed us that when in doubt, we have some reputable firms in Ghana. KPMG did the auditing of the election petition, and it brought it settled the matter once and for all. Let's do the same with the Techiman South.
The important thing about this is, in essence, the NDC is not saying change the results. They say recollate.
Yeah.
Come together. And recollate is a big word. Just count it again.
Yeah.
Essentially, count it again. The EC, first of all, the questions have been asked, and I believe the EC has a few questions to answer tonight. One is, where is the official published results for Techiman South parliamentary? Okay, where is it? We've checked their website. We can find
them.
So that must be provided. Where is it? There is a statement that they issued that talks about one outstanding constituency, which is Sene West. Yeah. Right, which is this, you see it on the smart wall here, which was resolved last week.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was resolved last week. Then there was the Techiman South, which was outstanding before that statement that came in. But by the time that statement came in, Techiman South had now been added to the national tally, giving it to the MPP, right? So the question is, we've seen the parliamentary results for the others officially published, because the law, and Raymond will take us through what the law says should happen in the publication of these numbers shortly. But one, where is it? Okay. Secondly, the NDC contends that there was no collation. Was there collation? DC needs to resolve that. The third question about declaration, I think that our reporter was there and has produced video evidence. So that for us is settled, really. There was an actual declaration, and we have the video for that. The thing about the collation, we hadn't seen it, and so the EC needs to clarify that. There's a third question about, okay, there's one source for the outcome of the results, which is the pink sheets. So if the NDC is producing 267 pink sheets for all polling stations and is getting a different outcome from what the EC has, first of all, you need to validate, first of all, their pink sheets. Yeah. If you are happy that all 267 pink sheets are properly valid, then you must necessarily, and it's different from the EC's outcome, they must necessarily say, okay, let's do the collation again. Let's see if this sorts it out. This will go a long way to address the key issues involved. Yeah. Now, but I want to bring in, for those who haven't heard why we are raising that fundamental question about, and I think that's an important point, so just for clarity, about the NDC themselves, within the party having two different figures, right? We've heard the explanation from Okudito Ablakwa, who was part of the team that put this latest results out. I want us to listen to the parliamentary candidate himself, Mr. Christopher Bayere, who spoke to me last night on Newsnight. Listen.
We have to also stand by jury. It is a deliberate attempt for them to frustrate us. Meanwhile, we all believe in the principles of democracy. If we talk about free and fair election, it is about all the parties sitting down. It's not only for Techiman, even for areas like Banda, when they have done the collation and declaration, they still went ahead to do recollation again. It was done in Banda. So why in Techiman there was no collation? Let us do it, you are saying no. Let's do recollation, you say no.
So in your formal letters to the EC, did they reply to you at all?
For the letters we have written to EC, there was one, the regional director, which I'll forward it to you. There was one, the regional director was saying that he cannot change the results. Listen attentively, or nullify the results. But in this case, we are not asking him to change the results. We want.
So he said this to you in his formal reply.
That is what meanwhile, we never even, our response to him was that we wanted him to do a collation, since there was no collation.
And he said to you in his formal reply that.
He said in a formal reply that he cannot change the results and cannot nullify the results.
Okay, but
you haven't collated. How do you then do declaration?
My attention has been drawn to a video in which the returning officer was declaring the results, and the table was pushed and the thing turned chaotic. Have you seen that video?
Let me explain to you. That wasn't a declaration. Now, we came with 5 polling stations having problems, which the electoral officer said, let us resolve those 5 polling stations. After resolving the 5 polling stations, then we can sit down and do the collation for all the 267. Then we agreed. So when we started with the 5 polling stations where there were problems, after agreeing on only the 5 polling stations, he got up with a piece of paper. Look at the video. If that is a summary sheet, you tell me in the video. He got up to announce the results. And I said, what are you trying to do? We haven't done any collation. You said we should settle on the 5 polling stations where there were problems. And after the 5 polling stations, you've gotten up to pull a piece of paper, A4 sheet, to write something on it, to come and then announce. It wasn't a declaration. So I said, no, let us do a collation or else we'll not agree. So that is the problem, the video that you are seeing.
Okay, but where we stand right now, the Electoral Commission has already certified those results as far as we are concerned from Greater Accra, and has gazetted even the results. So protests, it appears to me, will not resolve your problem.
My brother, have you checked? They have gazetted for the presidential, not parliamentary. You get me? Now, in any case, let's assume that you are saying we should go to court. What are we taking to court? You haven't given us any summary sheet. You understand? You haven't told, there's no even any documentation to show that you have done a declaration. What are we taking to court? That is one, my brother. Number 2, it is a simple matter of trying to save all of us, giving peace to the community of Techiman, and letting transparency and free and fair election prevail by going through all the pinches, letting us sit down. It is as simple as that.
Okay.
Why all this?
Let's get some specifics. You say you have all the pinches, and when you add it, you win by 700 votes. Give me specifics. How many votes exactly did your pink sheets add up to?
Unless we have, but I can't give you the exact specific. But if you give me 10 minutes of just from 2 minutes, I can quickly look at it for you.
Okay, because this, you are willing to protest about this, and this is a number that should stick in your head. I'm surprised that you don't have it offhand. Okay, let's do that. We'll get the clarity on this. I'll tell you also what the EC says on this whilst we do this. But incident. Well, I still have with me on the telephone line the NDC parliamentary candidate for Techiman South, Christopher Bayere. I've asked him to give me, he claims he's won it, and he has all his pink sheets. I've asked him to tell us exactly how many votes he secured. He asked me to give him 2 minutes to tell us that. Hopefully he's on the line and has found the number now. Mr. Bayere, thank you for your time. Thank you for staying on.
Thank you very much, my brother. Before I come to the figures, you see, our argument is as simple as that. The Electoral Commission...
Mr. Bayere, if you may, we've spoken extensively about your issues. I just asked you a simple question. How many votes exactly did you...
For the NDC, we have 50,420. And the MPP have 49,825.
You have 50,000... 420. That is according to your pink sheets.
Yes.
And you say the MPP has
49,825.
49,800 and what?
25.
Now that NPP figure, if you work with it and match it against the EC's figure as we have it, the MPP secured 49,682. So even in your figure that you have on your pink sheets, the MPP votes increases.
So we have the pink sheets. It is as simple as that. We believe in free and fair elections. Let us sit down in a transparent manner. All the media houses should be there.
So that is Mr. Bayere, is the NDC's parliamentary candidate for the Techiman South, and he spoke to us yesterday. And so from what he said, there are now, from the NDC, there are two different figures, and then there is the EC's figure. Okay, this is the EC figure, as you have that. You've put it out there. Now the EC's figure is that 59,682 for MPP.
49,000.
49,682 for MPP, and then 49,205
for the NDC.
For the NDC, right?
Yeah.
Now, then the parliamentary candidate comes in yesterday, as you've heard him, and then he says, based on this pink sheet auditing, he got 50,420. Yeah. Okay, making him the winner, and then 49,825 for Mr. Martin James Akonsa, making him the loser. And then today, the minority comes in with a different figure. They say that based on the same collation of the same pink sheets that they have, they won by 53,306. Yeah. That's against 50,013. I mean, that still needs to be. So clearly, as we stand, nobody is clearer.
You see
what the issue is.
Nobody is clear because we've had different figures. And for me, the first thing the Electoral Commission should have done, and Raymond will be sharing the law with us, would have been to publish the declared results on the notice board of the constituency head office. Okay. Now, we have reached a situation where it's important for us to deal with this once and for all. And I think that it should be dealt with independently. So long as you have two parties arguing, a third party, and in this case, an independent third party, will do all of us so much good.
Yeah, I mean, in Techiman South.
In Techiman South.
In Techiman South. I mean,
that has to be done. So that, all of us as a country, we're clear that this is the situation.
Yeah.
Whether the NPP won, whether the NDC won, that independent person agreed on by both parties. It's very important. Yeah. Trust here is very, very important. And this is where I think that, look, if I were the Electoral Commission, I'd do this. It's simple. Let it be done.
Okay. Now, let's talk about, Raymond is coming in now. Let's talk about the other big issue in contest, which is the minority had challenged the legality of the procedure that had been used in terms of the publication and what the law says. We've been looking at that.
So Regulation 43 talks about the declaration and publication of parliamentary election results, not presidential. It says in the first section that, subject to Regulation 42, immediately after the results of the poll for all the polling stations in the constituency of the returning officer have been given to the returning officer shall, in the presence of the candidates or the representatives of the candidates or not more than 2 counting agents appointed by each candidate, and the list what should be done clearly. A. Assemble the results from the polling stations without recounting the ballots in the ballot boxes, except where there is a challenge by a candidate or a counting agent in respect of a specific ballot box. B. Fill the parliamentary election results summary sheet as set out in Form 1D of the schedule. Give public notice. This is what they actually be contending, that you have to do this in the presence of their candidates, and secondly, you have to give public notice of the total number of votes cast for each candidate. D. Publicly declare as elected in the parliamentary election the candidate who had the highest votes. And E. Request the candidates or the representatives or counting agents of the candidates to, together with the returning officer, sign the parliamentary elections collation form as set out in Form 1C of the schedule that's attached to this one, and the parliamentary elections results summary sheet. 2 different sheets ought to be signed. Result summary sheet as set out in Form 1D of the schedule, and post a copy at the constituency collation center.
Okay, so that is the key bone of contention.
Yeah.
Can the EC tell us if they have posted this official copy of the results
at the constituency collation center?
Posted, which means that anybody can go and see it.
And see it. It's actually open to the public. And also says, give each candidate in F, give each candidate or the representative or counting agent of a candidate a completed and signed copy of the parliamentary elections results form, and as set out in Form 1C of the schedule, and the parliamentary elections summary sheet as set out in Form 1D of the schedule. Now, it also says in the last one, G, endorse on the rate specified in Form 1B of the schedule the name of the person elected. So that is where the endorsement is done. And proceed to say in H, forward to the commission the endorsed rate and a note of the total number of votes cast for each candidate. Now, one thing that we've not been told clearly is which of the forms they've not been given. At least they told us that they've seen nothing on the walls of the Electoral Commission at the collation center. But there are 2 forms that are supposed to be put out here. The first one is the parliamentary elections collation form, and also the parliamentary elections results summary sheet. These 2 forms are the ones that are supposed to be signed by the agents with the Electoral Commission or the candidate themselves with the Electoral Commission officer on the ground, and also posted on the notice at the collation center.
I mean, what is clear is that the EC has some questions to answer about the Techiman South parliamentary results.
So this means our reporter could independently go and see the results on the table and say that, well, this is on the wall. This is what they actually said. They're actually given to each of the sides. And the declaration is separate from that particular form that we're talking about.
I mean, in terms of our reporter and our presence on the ground, what we can only independently confirm is that the declaration. We have a video for it.
Yeah.
I mean, but the other bits which the law specifies, we don't have that, and the EC must provide clarity on that. The EC has issued a few statements tonight on a few of the issues that have come up. You know, today the minority had sort of protested, marched to the EC headquarters
to present a petition.
For example, that they had raised issues about the notice that was given. The EC has responded to that. That the attention has been drawn to this allegation that a notice was sent to them at a particular time. It says, for the record, the Electoral Commission wishes to inform the general public that it did not receive prior notice of the set presentation of the petition from the Minority Caucus. Indeed, the Electoral Commission later learned that the minority in Parliament delivered the set letter informing the Electoral Commission of its intended presentation scheduled for today, Tuesday, the 22nd of December at 10 a.m. So the EC said they were not aware. And you know they were not there to receive it, which had generated some. We need to wrap up on this. So where we stand now, if you're just joining us on your election headquarters, is that the NDC Minority Caucus in Parliament just finished their own public collation of the results, parliamentary, for Techiman South. And their figure they put out, Winston, you know how to magically put these things up here. So I'm going to help you do that for those who are just joining. That's as we wrap up. The number they put out is what, Winston?
50013 for the NPP.
They put 50013
for the NPP.
Okay, that's 50.
Yeah, 50
0 1
3. No, so it's 50 0 1 3. So
50 0.
Yeah, 1 3. So 50,030.
Okay, so that's a number that they put out that
NPP.
for NPP,
Yeah.
and then they won by
293 votes. So they had 50,306, 306.
306.
Yeah.
So for the NDC.
NDC, yeah.
Okay, so this is the number that the NDC Minority Caucus put out today as they won by, and this is something that they're contesting and they won resolved. Of course, there's a few questions still to be answered, and we're waiting. You see if the Electoral Commission now on the back of this, from the same source, Pink Sheets, might give some clarity on this. Meanwhile, they said they're going on some recess
on a break
tomorrow.
yeah.
I mean, watch this space. Let's at the quarters. We're keeping a close eye on this. When we get further details on that, we'll bring it up to you.